Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino here on a very busy Monday afternoon. We will react to Week 9 throughout today's 3-hour program, tie it into Week 10 numbers of the National Football League. Monday Night Football tonight. It's a Dallas Cowboys game, so in theory, if it lives up to the entire season so far, it's going to be fun, entertaining, and probably high-scoring. We'll break it down a couple of times. Nick Whalen, Warren Sharp on the program. Busy NBA card. College basketball is back. I have a bet on tonight's card and a couple of futures. The good, the bad, the ugly as well. And, Paul, I got to say, it feels a little awkward not having baseball today.
Yeah.
But the way that bad boy ended on Friday and Saturday night was pretty much as good as it gets.
Yeah, I agree. With Game 6 and Game 7, and it turned out to be an all-time series. And we were looking at another marathon game potentially. But the best line was uttered by many that Yamamoto enters Game 6 and closes Game 7. What he did. Phenomenal job.
And in the NFL yesterday, how about a nice bounce back by the Dogs? They went 8-4 ATS. Favorites outright, they were 7-5, capped off by that very impressive win by Seattle last night. But the marquee game of the day went to the Buffalo Bills yet again in the regular season over Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Make it 5 straight regular season games in which Buffalo has defeated that team. They outgained them 404 to 305. And as we were talking about before the show started, man, they really figured something out there with the defense overall. They were ready to go the entire game, and they made it exceedingly difficult for Mahomes the entire time. He was 15 of 34, and they had a bunch of ball hawks on that team defensively.
Yeah.
Right? Every time he threw the ball, sometimes the guys were open, like a couple of plays I could think to Kelsey, but Buffalo looked great yesterday. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my opinion has changed or I'm going to freak out and say, Kansas City, drop them big time now. I'd still have a number 1 in my power ratings. And if they played again this week, it's not like Buffalo's going to be a 3-point favorite. It'd be closer to a pick 'em than KC laying 2.5 is my guess. But
yeah. Spags, feel free to cover the tight end. That's one thing. Number 2, they're certainly dangerous when Allen's Superman, and he was Superman yesterday in the game. To think he's beat Mahomes 5 in a row in the regular season is astonishing. But I want to see sportsbooks take a stand here and invite Mahomes MVP money, as he only dropped a little bit. They're 5-4. They're the 8th seed. More losses could be coming. They're not even in the playoffs right now.
Right.
So I would say invite some of the, I think his MVP numbers are ridiculous, as he only completed 15 passes, that you would say, hey, Jacksonville stinks, but they have an easy schedule and have the tiebreaker. So to think that maybe you got to go to Denver coming up, you got the Colts. Yeah, it's just, I think more losses could be coming for Kansas City, just based on the schedule, even though they have a good team. But the MVP number's wild, the 1 seed and all of it. But that was a game that the Bills had to have. You're right, you trusted them in the regular season. Now can you go do it in January? Which I doubt, but it was a great performance.
Yeah, and nobody has any idea where the Chiefs are going to land as of right now in terms of their overall seed come playoff time. I don't know. Maybe they don't win their division, and maybe they're on the road playing in a wild card game to begin. That could easily happen.
Yes.
But I'm telling you right now, unless something happens with injuries moving forward in the final half of the season, when the playoffs get here, the Chiefs are going to be my team to beat in the AFC still. They just will be.
Yep.
And the Ravens are going to probably go into that, part of the season, the playoffs anyway, looking red hot. They're going to pick up a bunch of wins. They could be really dialed in on offense, and Lamar might be having a phenomenal 2-month stretch. But come January, that's the team that I need to see it to believe it first before I can knock them out of the playoffs overall.
How did Nance and Romo and everyone involved butcher that last sequence with Buffalo? You punt. You make them go 90 yards in 30 seconds. Don't try the field. I can't believe no one brought it up.
I had the volume on the Raiders game, to be honest.
Why would you kick the field goal there? It could be blocked. You miss. You gave him 2 Hail Marys. That was stupid. Have him just punt the ball as far as he can out of bounds and just say go 80, go 90 yards, whatever it may be, in 20 seconds without a timeout.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they did that.
I thought that whole, again, I didn't have the volume on, but watching that game at the same time as the Raiders and Jags, I thought the way it played out for Buffalo was a little peculiar. there at the end.
Too much can go wrong there.
Sure, of course.
Why not? I can't believe they brought that up. And they just kept saying, well, kick the field goal. And what? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. While you were giving them an opportunity where you had to stave off 2 Hail Marys as opposed to, a punt pin you or just, go 80 yards in 10, 20 seconds, whatever. I can't. And the other thing, how do they miss the tip ball at the line of scrimmage? And then you can't challenge that.
Are you how?
That's awful.
How much time did they spend on that?
That's another thing.
It's still going on? Really?
Sterators never seen that before? Okay, I guess.
What is it, conspiracy? There's no wire that got in the way of the field goal here all of a sudden?
I know.
What are we doing here?
I know. But to what you said earlier to start the show, because we do the Sunday tailgate show every Sunday. But it was the last 14 weeks, favorites of 8 points or more with 26-1 straight up. Bam, 2 of them lose on yesterday. So you saw some upsets. Finally, the Dogs were due after a 12-2 ATS run and the best run since 1985, what we had in a week. And there were some bizarre results, upsets, play calling, situations that played out. It was an interesting week, to say the least.
In the good, the bad, and the ugly, coming up at 5:45 Eastern time, I will detail a lot of what happened with the Green Bay Packers. Astonishing how they forget, covering for a second, but the fact that they lost the game outright in the manner in which they did, and when Bryce Young had 102 yards passing and Green Bay didn't punt. And I have a lot more on that game.
Yep.
But here, I don't know who the main person is to blame here, because LaFleur, this team, they have played a 60-minute A game one time all year long, and yet consensus power ratings had him number 2 again going into this week. And how long have we been saying there's something amiss here with the power rating on the Green Bay Packers, right? Yep. And it was going to come back and bite him in the ass at some point.
Right.
It did yesterday. LaFleur rarely, if ever, has this team ready to go out of the gates. Now, having said that, if I have to watch Jordan Love off his back foot throw another 50-yard bomb into triple coverage again this year, I'm going to break stuff at my house. Because, dude, you are now the third-year quarterback on this team, and you're coming off of a great, three-quarter stretch against Pittsburgh. What is up with your football IQ doing that? It's a horrible football play, man. Cut it out.
What did you see? There's 3 Carolina Panthers there. The decision, and then the decision on 4th down, where it could have been a pick 6. That would have been one of the worst throws in NFL history.
Sure.
And why are you going for that, LaFleur? We have really got out of control here with anti-field goals.
I agree.
There's 11 minutes left. You're down 7. It's 4th and 8 from the 13. Why would you go for that? And it cost them the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, you're putting out a compromised McManus still.
Sure.
The school teacher didn't miss and hit from 61. And you keep trotting this guy out here, and he misses kick after kick, and he missed another one, and it cost you a game.
Right.
They got bailed out at the fact that Carolina missed the extra point. But McManus missed another field goal. They were 1 of 5 in the red zone. The fumble was huge, the horrible interception, and LaFleur's out of his mind going for it, 4th and 8 from the 13 with 11 frickin' minutes left.
Yeah, assuming that he makes that field goal for a second, nothing's automatic, but let's say that he does, and it's a chippy. Then at some point, when Carolina scores again, we're talking 16-16 with the ball game. And that field goal at the end of it would not have won the game for Carolina. We would have been going to overtime at that point, because Green Bay eventually came back and scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's the way it would have played out.
Yeah.
This is the same guy against the Buccaneers 5 years ago in Tom Brady, who could not get a stop the entire game on 4th and goal, decided to kick a field goal down by 8 with 2 minutes left.
Yep.
In the playoff game at home to go to the Super Bowl. And now he's on a complete 180. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And it's baffling watching that team play. And here's another one from yesterday. Their overall numbers on the year, they were supposed to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides. Well, specifically, and Jacobs did have a good game running the football. Micah Parsons, for the first time in his career, did not have a single pressure. Not one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we also have to realize that Carolina's pretty good. Carolina and Jacksonville might make the playoffs.
Oh. And
I don't think they're, I don't think Jacksonville's below average. But it's just the schedule that's left, and you're finding ways to win games, or teams are handing you games. The Raiders missed an extra point. They can't get a stop. This 44 points in the fourth quarter. What transpired? Here, they're just running the ball on you. Finally, Canales figured out, yeah, Dowdle's pretty good. Maybe they should get him the ball. Also, there was a good text that Green Bay is the ultimate survivor team this year. They lost to Cleveland. They lost to Carolina. They tied Dallas. How many people did they get this year in Survivor contest all over?
Yeah.
Some horrible losses, but they'll beat the Eagles because that's the Packers, right?
Well,
I hated. I said that. I hated the spot, though. That's why LaFleur, you're right. He has to have them ready to play. I hated the spot. Everyone's pumping your tires. You look great and beat Pittsburgh on the road. Yeah. The Monday night games, the showdown's up next looming on Monday night, and you come out not ready to play and you lose to a below-average team.
I mean, it's such a week-to-week league. The team that they just went up and down the field on for basically, 2 hours in a 3-hour football game last Sunday, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a team that could not create turnovers on defense. They forced 6 yesterday against the Colts. And that offense that was humming along at historical rates.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
Another one. Yeah, well, Pittsburgh had 220 yards. They took it away 6 times. That's a Mike Tomlin win. That's what that was.
Yeah, and if Atlanta doesn't miss an extra point.
That's another one.
Right, after getting absolutely embarrassed last week. The stuff is so week to week in the NFL.
Uh-huh.
And then how about
Detroit?
The loss by the Lions yesterday.
Yep. Van Ginkel was great. The pressure was there.
Good to have him back.
He got home. I know. Couldn't stop the run.
We will get into tonight's Monday night tilt in Dallas between the Cowboys and the Cardinals. How about this? A Monday night angle is 79% since 1996. Details next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More picks coming up tonight. Monday Night Football, Cowboys and the Cardinals, and more reaction to Week 9 of the National Football League, which played out yesterday for the most part. We head out to the Progressive guest line as Nick Whalen joins the program now with RotoWire. Nick, good afternoon. Thanks for the time as always. What is your strongest takeaway / opinion of the Packers losing yesterday at home to Carolina?
I think this was another reminder that you can't really trust the coaching for this team week to week, specifically the play calling, which I know we've been harping on all season long. I think most Packers fans would tell you, even in the games that they've won this season, you still feel a little wanting. You come out of these games and you're like, man, you look around the NFL and these other elite offenses are effortlessly moving the ball down the field. You got teams like the Colts and the Lions that feel like they're scoring 30 plus every week. And you're kind of wondering, when is that going to come back to bite the Packers? And it's now happened twice. You look at the remaining schedule for Green Bay, it's not easy the rest of the way. There are no gimmies on that schedule. And I think the two that you would have circled, and certainly the numbers would have implied that, would be the Cleveland game. And then what we saw yesterday, 13.5-point home favorite against Carolina. I mean, they've now blown, to me, inarguably the two easiest games on their schedule. And there are a lot of things you can point to. Jordan Love obviously was not very good yesterday. I think the play calling again was an issue. The offensive line continues to really struggle for this team. But big picture wise, something that's plagued the Packers not only this season but in years past under LaFleur is it's a team that just takes so long on both sides of the ball. They have long possessions on offense that often don't result in touchdowns. It's a defense that cannot get off the field right now. They end up playing these games over and over, where, like yesterday, you have 7 true possessions in the game. And oftentimes one of those will be with a minute and a half left in the second quarter when you have to run a hurry up. So you end up really, limiting your room for error when you're only possessing it 7 or 8 times over the course of a game. And maybe you turn it over on your first possession, you punt once or twice in there. It just puts a ton of pressure on every single possession. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but every week I watch the Packers and I look up and I'm like, how are there 3 minutes left in the second quarter? How have the Packers only run 16 plays?
Right.
Yep. Great point.
Yep. Same division. Bears Bengals. What do you think about that? Other than I guess we just have to fire every single time on overs galore with Bengals games.
Look, I mean, the Bengals defense was truly historically bad in that game. I didn't think Chicago was a whole lot better. I mean, both of these defenses, I think, are ones to target the rest of the way, both in betting and in fantasy. I think this was the worst defensive game I've ever seen in my life. I've watched a lot of football.
I think you're
don't
right.
even know if it's close. There was one punt over the final 18 drives of this game. And that was when Chicago, had the pick six called back and you're just trying to burn a little bit of clock, force Cincinnati to burn some timeouts. It was the most yards the Bears have put up in any game since 1980. The Bengals are now the first team to allow at least 500 yards, at least 38 points, and have no takeaways in back-to-back games. They're also the first team since the mid-1960s to score 38 or more in back-to-back games and lose both of those games. And they are now the second worst team by DVOA defensively since 1978. I mean, that's roughly like 1,400 individual defenses in that span. I mean, we are talking the bottom 1 percentile, bottom 0.1 percentile for this Cincinnati defense. And I don't know how it gets better. That's the thing. I mean, every week it feels like you get a report, oh, player X is asking out, or the Bengals are benching random veteran Y. I don't really see a source of improvement here. And now we're talking about trading Trey Hendrickson before tomorrow's deadline. I think this is just how it's going to go. And it's happening against every offense, right? Like the New York Jets are basically putting up 40 on this team.
I know. And then after the game, Chase Brown and Jamar Chase lost it.
Yeah.
And Brown profanity-laced tirade about, come on, all you have to do is get one stop. And then Zach Taylor gets mad at Chase Brown. So, Zach Taylor, are you going to do anything? Right. This happens every year.
Right.
14-2 overrun in home games, by the way, last 16. Walk us through some props you like tonight.
Yeah, well, first of all, you make a good point on Zach Taylor, and I do wonder if he's going to get bailed out by the Burrow injury and just get another year with this team that he absolutely does not deserve. We'll see how that plays out. I can't really remember an offense just revolting against its own defense so publicly like that. Looking at tonight's game, it's more of a prop spot for me. I think I would maybe just grab points with Arizona if you do want to play the side, just because, this Dallas defense is not Cincinnati bad, but it's been close. Cowboys should still be without 3 defensive starters in that secondary, so that worries me a little bit. I mean, this is a bottom 3 defense in terms of EPA, success rate, EPA per pass, EPA per rush. I do think it should be a rebound spot, though, for Dak Prescott. I would look at the yardage for Prescott. You could grab the over 2.5 passing touchdowns. He's coming off his worst game of the season. Before that, he had been pretty much bulletproof early in the year, and that was a tough spot on the road at Denver. I also am looking at the over 22.5 completions for Jacoby Brissett. Now, opposing quarterbacks are completing almost 70% of their passes against this Dallas defense. He has 25 and 27 completions in his first 2 starts. So I think this should be another relatively high volume spot. You have to look at Trey McBride, over 68.5 receiving yards. He's got 24 targets over these last 2 games with Brissett, and went over this number against 2 better defenses, at least in Indianapolis and Green Bay. No team had given up more passing yards, guys, coming into this week than the Dallas Cowboys. They've given up an NFL high 20 passing touchdowns on the year, so don't mind taking a stab at a Trey McBride anytime touchdown. I believe he's closer to 6 or 7 to 1 for first touchdown tonight. And then on the Dallas side of things, George Pickens over 4.5 receptions. I know we kind of view him as a secondary guy now with CeeDee Lamb back. Jake Ferguson's going to get his, but I still think George Pickens heavily involved tonight. That Arizona defense, top 10 against the run. So I think it's a high volume passing spot for Dak.
Yep, totally agree. And by the way, when you look at anytime touchdown scores, and you can expand on other guys that you might like tonight with McBride, how much of it is like handicapping and saying that this defense is exploitable here and they've allowed a lot to this position compared to, that number looks pretty damn good and I might have to grab a little bit of that.
Well, I think against a defense like Dallas specifically, it's more so the latter because it could be anybody. Like they give up yards to running backs, they give up yards to tight ends, to wide receivers. So in that specific case, there's not necessarily one position that I would hone in on. I think on the Arizona side, you got to look at Bam Knight. If it's a short touchdown, if they have, second and goal from the 3-yard line, he's probably the guy that gets that first look. But I am curious to see what we get out of all 3 running backs. I mean, Jonathan Gannon has said they're just going to ride the hot hand in this game. So we'll see Michael Carter. We'll see if Amari DiMercato can work his way out of the doghouse. He's going to be active tonight. He's somebody I wouldn't mind taking a stab at. We'll see what the workload is early on. But DiMercato is going to get some chances in this game. He's 5-1 right now for a touchdown.
A little redemption story for him on national TV to make it look good, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see. He needs it, man.
Yeah, no kidding. You were on, and so was I. This was my one loser so far in Circa Millions. I was on the Colts yesterday, as were you. What'd you think overall of watching that unfold? And they turned the ball over 6 times all of a sudden.
Yeah, early on, it looked like it was going to be just another Colts game where they score first. They kind of back the opponent into a corner. Teams start pressing against them. You feel like you got to score with the Colts. And then the Josh Downs muff punt was just brutal. And I know Pittsburgh ended up getting stuffed.
Yeah,
silly. Yep. That's exactly the right word. Pittsburgh didn't even score on that possession, but that was kind of the first canary in the coal mine that, oh boy, this might be a disaster game for the Colts, who had committed 4 turnovers as a team coming into this week. And you knew they were going to have one of these games at some point. I just didn't think it would be this week, to be honest. I was shocked how well that Pittsburgh defense played. All the numbers and the eye test really indicate that this has not been a very good defense. But after scoring that first touchdown, Colts go muff punt, fumble, interception, punt, interception, and all of a sudden you're down 3 scores heading into the fourth quarter. So to me, it's more credit to the Pittsburgh defense for finding a way to do what really no other team has done and slow down this Colts team. At the same time, every team is going to have one of those disaster games every year. You're not going to win when you turn it over 6 times. It was a little like the New England game for Pittsburgh, where the Patriots looked like the better team, but turned it over 5 times. Well said. Finally, here in about 90 seconds, was that bad Detroit yesterday, or do we tip our cap here to the Vikings, who finally got a couple of key guys back on defense? Yeah, it's more of a tip of the cap to the Vikings for me. Obviously, Detroit contributed to its own demise, but I think you can draw a parallel to what we saw from the Vikings defense to what we saw from the Pittsburgh defense, right? Both teams coming off of really bad games in week 8. Everybody's down on Minnesota. And then, of course, they show up in this spot. I will say Vikings did a really good job taking advantage of short fields. 17 of their 27 points came in short field situations. They had a long kickoff return in the first quarter. The Montgomery fumble set up a touchdown in plus territory. Even that field goal late in the game that made it a 2-score game, that came after the blocked field goal and the return on the Detroit side. So again, not really concerned about the Lions going forward. Just one of those games where a few things didn't go their way, but got to tip your cap to the Vikings for capitalizing. There you go. You can follow Nick on X. He's at WHA1EN with RotoWire. Nick, thanks so much for the time as always. Enjoy the game tonight. Will do, guys. Thank you. Yeah, and he was on the progressive guest line. Yeah, that Colts performance yesterday, stink bomb. I thought, like he said, I thought that was going to come in a few weeks to KC. Not necessarily against that Steelers defense.
Well, it doesn't say much about Pittsburgh. You beat them by 7. You forced 6 turnovers. Yeah, 220 yards. Aaron Rodgers didn't complete a pass over 20 yards.
Yeah.
Again, it's all dink and dunk. But get ready for Sunday night. I know they're a big Sunday. Yeah, a big favorite. Detroit, 12 in a row, ATS off a loss.
That number, by the way, with the Daniels injury,
right,
skyrocketed, man.
Yeah.
We're talking about 7:15 Eastern time last night. Lions were 3.5 in the game.
It's also how the defense looked. I mean, if Darnold looks like that, what's Goff going to do to you?
Win some, lose some up next. Here we go again. Paulie is going to detail yet another betting scandal next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More reaction to Week 9 and sneaking a look to tonight's Monday Night Football game, as well as Warren Sharp joins the program now. Make sure to follow him on X. Dynamite job there as always at Sharp Football, and the website is sharp.football. Warren, good afternoon. Thanks for the time as always. Let's begin with, I'm going to expand on the Green Bay game coming up in about 15 minutes and the good, the bad, and the ugly. They lost, unfortunately, tight end Tucker Kraft. That guy's so good, done for the year. What do you think that does overall to the Green Bay offense moving forward?
It's definitely going to be impactful because he's the number 1 tight end in the NFL in yards after catch per completion. His production there in being able to take underneath passes, which are easy for Jordan Love to get out of his hand, won't have pressure on him, but then turn those into massive gains that we see seemingly a couple times a game, has been tremendous. He, through week 9, obviously he's finished the season with the torn ACL, number 1 in yak per reception, number 1 in total yak, number 2 in yards per reception, and number 3 in total receiving yards among all tight ends. So he's very impactful. What it's also going to do is impacting the strategy of the Green Bay Packers offense. They're going to have to utilize probably slightly less 2 tight end sets, which they used a lot of 2 tight end sets. They were one of the top 10 teams in rate of usage of 2 tight end sets. So they're probably going to have to utilize a little bit more 11 personnel. And then I think it's going to impact them on first down, which is obviously a critical down. A lot of people look at third down. Oh, that's the money down. I think first down is very important in terms of games being won or lost, your efficiency on first down. Listen to some of these splits. with Tucker Kraft on the field on first down, the Green Bay Packers ranked number 4 in EPA per play, number 5 in yards per play, number 4 in success rate, number 3 in EPA per pass. With Tucker Kraft off the field on first downs, they ranked number 32, dead last in EPA per play, dead last in yards per play, number 24 in success, and dead last in EPA per pass attempt. I mean, we're talking moving from top 5 all the way to dead last in the NFL in many of those statistics. Now, the sample size isn't overly large. Obviously, we're talking about 1 down and half of the season, but Tucker Kraft was very impactful. Now this team's going to have to try to reinvent themselves this upcoming week. It starts there, and then moving forward, I mean, will they be able to reach the ceiling of what we might have thought that they could do in the postseason this year? Probably not without Tucker Kraft.
Wow, those are absolutely startling numbers. What did you also notice yesterday with the Steelers defense? They were able to come up with 6 turnovers here against this mighty Colts offense.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about the Steelers' performance? I've been railing on them and getting all over Mike Tomlin about his lack of making adjustments, lack of doing something to attack the weakness of an opponent rather than just doing what he does himself. Well, I got to give kudos to Mike Tomlin in this game. Those 6 takeaways that you just mentioned, they only blitzed on one of them. Only once. Now, this was a team that blitzed the Green Bay Packers, who were good against the blitz, at the Steelers' highest blitz rate that they utilized in any game of the season last week. This week, they went up against another team that was very good against the blitz. And you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers did? They made a massive schematic adjustment. They played their highest rate of cover 2 all season, their second lowest rate of man coverage. Additionally, they were the number 3 most blitz-heavy team entering this game. They dropped their blitz rate all the way down to 24%, their lowest blitz rate in any game of the entire season. So they played way less man, blitzed way less frequently, played more zone, and still were able to get after the run. And they limited Jonathan Taylor to his worst yards per carry of any game this season at 3.2. They gave up not a single explosive run to Jonathan Taylor, the first time all year that Jonathan Taylor did not have an explosive run. And this was like the number 1 offense, the number 1 rushing attack of anybody in the NFL. It was the hardest team that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had to go up against. They have played 6 straight games against offenses that ranked below average. Now you're going up against the number 1. It's going to be a test to Steelers defense. And I got to compliment and give kudos to Mike Tomlin for making those adjustments, to going after what the weaknesses of the opponent was rather than playing to what he thinks the strengths are of his own team, and really performing stellar in all aspects defensively, which is what ultimately won the game. I mean, the Colts had 7 points going into the fourth quarter. They had just 2 drives out of, I think it's 9 or 11, I forget which, 2 drives that even went inside the Steelers' 30-yard line. I mean, it was just an outstanding defensive performance.
Your thoughts last night on the Daniels injury and why is he in the game with 7 minutes left, down 38-7, coming off an injury?
Yeah, coming off the injury is the key thing. To me, look, if this was a variety of other statistics that I'm going to get into, if this was another situation with a quarterback who's losing, but needs maybe some practice to gel with some of the receivers and whatnot, I don't necessarily have an issue. This is what gives me the issue. Jayden Daniels was under pressure on 57% of his dropbacks. Not only was it most of any quarterback this past week, it was the most of any game in Jayden Daniels' career. He then scrambled at a 26% scramble rate, which was not only the most of any quarterback this past week, but the most of any game in Jayden Daniels' career. He was under so much pressure that he had to scramble so much, and he's coming off of the injury. If you're just a quarterback who's not under a lot of pressure, who could just read the blitz out, just figure out what you're doing in the pocket and complete some passes, and you're not being lit up that much, I don't have an issue with you being in the game at that point in time. But in this situation, with Jayden Daniels being under that much pressure, that high of a scramble rate, keep in mind, this was the second highest scramble rate for any quarterback in any game this entire season. It was the most of any game in his career. And the sidelines and the coaching staff should have seen that, should have realized that he's putting himself into harm's way. I mean, Jayden Daniels isn't going to quit. Jayden Daniels is going to stop playing all the way. He knows one speed. He's trying to be that franchise quarterback for this team and show up for the city and play really well in a home game, regardless of what the score is. You can't leave him out there on the field if he's under that much pressure and scrambling that often. It's a recipe for disaster coming off of the injury. It's just, completely on the coaching staff, and Dan Quinn blamed himself for it, but this was just, it could throw off Jaden Daniels' entire career. There's no way of telling exactly how severe this injury will be ultimately and what it might do to Jaden Daniels' career. Just ridiculous coaching, in my opinion, to leave him in the game at that point.
Great rant. Warren Sharp, our guest here in the Progressive Guest Line. When you looked at the Bills-Chiefs result, broke it down, maybe watched it again, whatever your process is, what did you find with the Bills and the reason why they had so much success yesterday?
Well, first of all, they won the game because of their defense and what they did to Patrick Mahomes. That's first and foremost. But the reason that they had to get the Chiefs into a pass-first attack is because of the way that they passed the ball, utilizing play action. And I've said this often on this program, and I've talked about it frequently. The Kansas City Chiefs pass defense is number 1 in the NFL if you do not use play action against them, but they have dropped all the way to number 32, dead last, when you use play action against them. And I did not for the life of me understand why some teams like the Ravens and others would go up against this Kansas City Chiefs team and not jack up their usage of play action. The Buffalo Bills on first down dropbacks this game went play action 71% of the time. Their year-to-date average was 44%. They jacked that all the way up to 71%. They averaged a ridiculous 14 yards per pass attempt, 80% success, 0.85 EPA per pass attempt. They were dramatically better when utilizing play action on those first down passes. On all early downs, their efficiency from play action was substantially higher. And this is exactly what more teams need to do. Until Kansas City can show you that they are not the worst team in the NFL defending play action, you have to crank up your play action passing against them. The Buffalo Bills got the memo, exercised that, and had a lot of success as a result of that. So kudos to the coaching staff for identifying and deciding to implement that heavily into the game plan. I think it definitely made a massive difference.
That's awesome stuff right there. Lastly, tonight's Monday night game, huge total because it's a Cowboys game. You have your eyes on anything here in this matchup?
Truthfully, I did not bet anything side total or any player props yet. I've been looking at a few different things. If I was forced, I'd probably be looking at the underdog here, the Arizona Cardinals. I like the fact from a passing perspective that it is not Kyler Murray. I think you need to do a re-examination of all of the receivers, especially some of their things down the field for the Arizona Cardinals when Kyler Murray is not playing, because Kyler Murray just cannot see down the field. His efficiency passing the ball deeper down the field is not what it should be. It's well below the NFL average. And so even if a quarterback like a Jacoby Brissett, who's not an elite quarterback by any means, is going to have more success throwing the ball deeper down the field on all those routes that he's being asked to throw the ball on. So there are some players from a receiver perspective that you might want to target, whether it's longest reception or total receiving yards for the Arizona Cardinals.
Very good, Warren. Love talking to you. Thanks for the time. Enjoy watching the game tonight.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.
There you go.
You too.
He's on X at Sharp Football, and the website is sharp.football. He was on the Progressive Guest Line.
Why didn't Dan Quinn catch that? I don't know why.
How does he not recognize that as the game's going on?
He's running for his life every play. It's 38-7 with 7 minutes.
Yeah, we're getting absolutely smoked in the game. The guy just came back from an injury. Talk about awful job reading the room, Paulie, as we like to say here on the show all the time.
Yeah. 100% on him, he said, yeah. Well,
Second-year player. Well, no, it's too late, though.
It is too late. I know.
The good, the bad, and the ugly coming up next. Their power rating has felt off for weeks, and yesterday's ugly performance solidifies that notion.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
The good. Pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good.
The bad.
I've had it with this job. Got no food, got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
And the ugly.
First of all, that's horrible.
Wow, that was the worst piece of crap I've ever seen.
The good, the bad, the ugly, brought to you by SharpPlays.com. Get the latest betting insights and analysis now at SharpPlays.com. He's got a great tweet and a trend on Monday Night Football tonight. The good, Dave Roberts, and an all-time World Series and finish I can't criticize Dave Roberts ever again after all the moves worked out. Pa saves the day. Why is Kike playing so shallow? Brings in Rojas, who goes deep and ties it. Everything worked out. He didn't forget the bullpen. I'll just put 4 starters out there. Right. That's how I'll win the game. Incredible.
He goes to one reliever, and there's a brawl almost that starts.
I know. Second longest game 7. Third end on a double play. Third team to win the World Series winner take all when they trailed entering the 9th. They hit 203 in the series and won. Will Smith caught 73 innings, most ever. Yamamoto, 3 wins, all on the road, never happened. Third pitcher to win Game 6 and Game 7. They were 2-65 in the World Series when they trailed entering the 9th as well, before the comeback and the Rojas home run, and then Smith goes deep as well. A combo, a father-son combo, caught both home runs. They won $2.5 million.
Well,
what are the odds? They both got one. One got the Rojas, one got the Will Smith.
I didn't even know that. You said that right now. But by the way, this is a bad beat. As soon as in Game 6, when they took out Yamamoto and went to the pen, 3-1 was the score. I'm adding Blue Jays right now plus 1.5. I bet them 4 different times at plus money, all the way up to like plus 168, I believe.
Oh, yes.
How the hell did that bet lose?
Yeah, got stuck. Ball got stuck.
First time in the history of Skydome / Rogers Center, a ball got stuck like that. And they had the bases loaded, I think, with 2 out of the 3 innings.
I know. I'll get to that. I know. 4 for 26 runners in scoring position the last 2 games. You can have the Darnold angle. I'll take the Seattle angle. What McDonald's doing? He's 11-1 last 12 on the road. This isn't supposed to happen. You can, maybe fix what's going on at home. But to be 11-1 on the road and 10 in a row, that's astonishing.
Man.
Great job there. My bad. Quickly, Packers and LaFleur. The 4th and 8 from the 13 with 11 minutes to kick the pass on the field goal. That's so bad. There's 11 minutes left. You're a 13-point favorite. Kick the field goal there. You're going to win the game. And how you're handling this McManus thing is bizarre. Because he came back too soon. He was still hurt. This guy was automatic. Now he's missed 3 kicks, and he wasn't even close Sunday night in Pittsburgh. And then Lucas, who was going to be go back into teaching, was perfect in the 2 games and hit from 61 from the Rams. He's on line 1. He should be a Ram. Mm-hmm. And the officiating is getting worse. It's out of control how they're deciding games and what happened in college and what happened, how they blew that call in the Bills game. That was obviously tipped. You can't review it, and everyone on the field missed it? That's terrible. That pass was tipped by Mahomes. They called intentional grounding. And then Dabo said it's the worst call he's ever seen, and I've been around football a long time, and he's right. Then they come out and the ACC fines them. That's ridiculous. That was offensive pass interference, if anything. You call it on Clemson, the game's over, then you give Duke first and goal, and they win the game. And then the Miami play, which, again, you should put SMU away. It's going to be 4th and 15. It's a false start on SMU. The guy from Miami can't hear. It's too loud. And then he lets up at the end. And they called it, he called roughing the passer, unsportsmanlike conduct. They decided the game on 4th down. That's a 15-yard penalty. Instead of 4th and 15, it's a first down, and SMU goes on to score, and Miami loses in overtime. Then he took a knee. Cristobal took a knee. He's got 30 seconds left still. He played for overtime. He didn't even try. But that was a terrible call by the officials where it's so loud the guy can't hear, and then he lets up, and they still call the penalty for hitting the quarterback.
That happens every week, man. College and the NFL. Where you're going to get the bad officials that will come in, screw up a play, maybe even be on the wrong side of the result. My good. Has to be Darnold last night. Think about this. 16 for 16, 4 touchdowns at halftime. This is according to ESPN research. There have been 4 instances of a player recording a quarterback rating of 97 or higher in a game this season. Darnold has 3 of them. The others, when he played Tampa Bay Week 5, New Orleans in Week 3. Darnold's 3 such games are tied with Tom Brady in 2007, Tony Romo 2014, and Lamar Jackson 2019 for most by a starting quarterback in a season since ESPN began doing this back in 2006. His MVP number went from 60-1 or higher to around 14 or 18-1 today. Why can't he win the award? I'll tell you, this is the guy who, if the season ended today, should win it. And I know that, it's a long season. Stuff can change. We were super hot and heavy on Mayfield 3 weeks ago. Today, Matthew Stafford's the MVP of the NFL.
Last 17 games, 13-4 record. They blew 2 of them. 36-3 touchdown INT ratio.
21-2 this year.
Ho, ho, ho.
36-3 is incredible.
Yeah.
He leads the league in yards per game as well, and this offense is humming. And that said, stop it with the end of rounds to Puka Nacua. He gets hurt every single time on that play.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Brock Bowers. Please stay healthy. I speak for the entire fantasy community. 12 for 127-3. That's actually a saving grace to the Raiders season if he can. They're a threat offensively now with that guy. What does he mean to the number?
Yeah. Well, Geno Smith looked good. I mean, that'll tell you one thing.
And I'll throw this at you as well. Off day for Jonathan Taylor yesterday. Your guy. Strong day for CMC yet again. On the season, McCaffrey, 596 on the ground, 4 touchdowns. In the air, 61 catches for 626, 4 touchdowns. His pace for the season, 317 carries, 1,126 yards, 7 touchdowns, 115 catches, 1,182 in the air, 7 more touchdowns, 2,300 yards from scrimmage, and 14 touchdowns is the pace. You can find him as high as 9-1 to win Offensive Player of the Year. Can he overcome JSN and Jonathan Taylor?
That's going to be tough.
My bad. Cristobal, you summed it up there nicely. And the Tennessee Titans, we're all talking about Green Bay losing. For people not paying attention to Tennessee and the Bolts yesterday, Tennessee had a in the third quarter, by the way, but midway through. 1st and goal at the Chargers 8. 3rd and 1 at the 1. 4th and goal at the 1. Horrible play calling, could not score. Denied. Chargers answered with a 15-play, 99-yard touchdown drive. That went from Tennessee potentially leading 24-20 to the Chargers leading 27-17. And now we're talking late third quarter, early fourth quarter.
Yep, good catch. My ugly, the Bengals again. Flacco, last 4 games, leads in yards and touchdowns. They're 1-3. Second team ever to score 38 points, back-to-back games at home and lose. The last 3 years, teams that score 38 points or more, 83-6-2. The Bengals are 1-4. The Patriots, Eagles, and Raiders have never lost in franchise history, scoring more than 38 points.
Oh.
The Bengals have done it 4 times the last 2 years. They're the first team ever to allow 350 yards and 27 points 8 games in a row. But Zach Taylor's mad at Chase Brown.
Yeah, sure. Because he's speaking the truth, man.
Yeah. And then Blue Jays and Schneider. How many guys are you going to leave on base? You can't. How many guys on third with less than 2 outs? How many times you have the bases loaded? And thanks to Rich in Canada. Why is Ernie Clement batting 8th?
Correct.
And we had the MVP. We had it. 55-1. Paez, where does he come from? We had it. The walk-off, he would have had 4 hits and the most hits ever in the postseason.
Oh, he was going to win.
We had the MVP.
He was going to win the award. But thankfully, we talked about and gave out Yamamoto on Friday's show. And he got there. My ugly, I got to expand on this Green Bay Packers game. They outgained Carolina 369-265. Bryce Young, 102 yards passing. Micah Parsons, 0 pressures, first time in his career. Are you ready for this? Green Bay did not punt in the game, and they scored 13 points.
Awesome.
Drives ended at the Panthers 16 on 1st and 10. Fumble. They had 1st and 10 at the Carolina 18, settled for a field goal. 1st and 10, Carolina 12, 15 seconds left before halftime, field goal. 1st and 10 at the Carolina 31, settled for a missed field goal. And to your point, 1st and 10 at the Carolina 15. Love INT on 4th and 8, down 13-6, rather than taking the field goal. And even if McManus, does he make it? I don't know, because they're going with the wrong field goal kicker here on top of everything else.
They are.
And then a great breakdown in the previous segment for Warren Sharp and what Tucker Kraft has meant to the offense so far. It's going to be they're going to have to come up with something here without that guy.
Yep. There it is. Good job, guys. Wild weekend. The bad officiating. I can't believe the World Series. I can't believe how it ended. The Game 6. How Kike Hernandez went rogue in Game 6. He admitted that.
Yep.
He goes, I ignored the scouting report. I played shallow. It came in. And then he almost burned them in Game 7, though. I can't believe Pa has caught that.
Up next, I bet the Rams at 30-1 to win the Super Bowl many months ago. But they're not winning a damn thing until they fix this.